Hello, here's our CSCI 380 web programming interface. And for today's, we'll move on to slightly deeper about the CSS. Like so far, we work on the React.js, try to build a website and give you some template, right? Some like route. Okay, so switch. So you have some pages. So at least just like regarding how it looks like. Okay, suppose that for the function, okay, and then all the components you are able to build it. Okay, and then in our previous several weeks, okay, so I try to cover the one is about the Happy.js will be our API server. Then how can we build a router? Also, this part of your exercise. Okay, and then we also need to connect to the MySQL, not the MySQL, MongoDB. Okay, so instead of the relational database, like then we will work on the NoSQL. Okay, so NoSQL will be our MongoDB, and then after we combine everything together, so you have to really have really like kind of like the backbone, the really rough design of the website. Okay, and then we need to like okay on top. Okay, you can present all the data like after you retrieve all the data from the database. The next step, how can you make your website like looks more fancy, looks more beautiful? Okay, and then we need to like look into the CSS. So it's a full name called cascading style sheet for the CSS. So it's mainly try to style the layout appearance of our web page. Okay, maybe we can use it to change the colors, fonts, and then some like space spacing like maybe the sentence characters. Okay, maybe the positions of the all the elements. Okay, paddings. Okay. So pretty a lot of things we can work on. So why we need to use CSS? So we can try to keep the structure of the HTML separate from the presentation. And when we design, we have to make it like think about the consistency. So you try to apply the same style across the multiple pages. Okay, so if you have the menu and then switch the pages, okay, and try to make sure, okay, unless your website is like the design, okay, the styles that you have to different. Okay, so mainly it's like consistent. Okay, and if you look at all the popular website, like the when we work on the web programming or like building the website, it's so many references online. Okay, so we can look at some all the maybe if you look at Apple, like Apple really focus on design. Okay, maybe if you look at if you want to build an online shop, okay, maybe you want to look at let's say Amazon, eBay, okay, or this, okay, and you can just like refer to their design. Okay, and online there are some popular or like some like trending design, so you can refer to and try to always like make it like more easy to maintain and update the style. So in the coming for the rest I will tell you, okay, we have different type of like create. The first part we need to learn is about the syntax. Okay, so for the syntax, the basic one, so we will call have a selector and they have a curly bracket, so including a property and value. Okay, so and then we have a semicolon right here. And here's the basic structure, how it looks like. If you know H1 is the header, okay, it's the largest forms of the header. And then if you give them a property, so it would be the color blue, okay, blue in color, and change the font size. Okay, it's the 24 pixel like this. So it will be the basic structures, and then here's a syntax. So how can we set the CSS? Okay. But why here is like so popular if you just right click inspect. Okay, so any website you will see all the CSS. Like if you go to inspect and then check the all the elements. Okay, so you see the styles right here. Okay, so there's a lot of example you can refer online. Okay, and then for the components, including so for the some keywords you need to know, may ask you also what's the selector, okay, what's the property, okay, so all this property, and then what's the values. Okay, so the for color we have several ways to present. Like if there's some common color, we have the name, like let's say red, blue, yellow, orange, white. So you can use the name, or sometimes you can use a hex, okay, or you can use the RGB and then with a bracket and separate with the 0 to 220, 25, 5 like this. Okay, so you can represent in this one. And type of the selectors can be the element selector. So will be the one we use the H1, 2, 3, or P, okay. Or the div, okay, all this will be the called the element selector. And also we have the class selector. Okay, so using class, you will be using dot class. Okay, so what's the class will be if you see the tag and it comes with the name. So sometimes like if you see for some certain element, let's say I try to inspect right here, look at it. So if given a class, right? So we have a class name. So when the class name come with the dot, okay, so with the dot notation, so it's showing it's a class. And then for the ID selector, so we will have a pound sign. Okay, so we will have a ID name. Okay, so we like this. And then for some attributes, so we'll be right here showing, okay, we have a bracket right here, square bracket, type equals to text like this. Okay. And when you see dot highlight, and then we try to set the like background color to yellow. So that means that one's the class selector. Okay, so it's like pretty direct and straightforward. You can try to see most of this here will be the you see the element, okay, and that means the element right here, and then you will see the next one maybe the dots there we here would be the class, okay, and for more like maybe sometimes if you set some ID and they want to giving a CSS, then of course you can do it. And we have the specific city. So right here for cascade, that means that how can the styles that apply when the multiple rules match. Okay, so specific city. So right here will be like inline style will be the highest, and then second will be the ID. Next will be the class or attributes, and then the lowest will be the element. Okay, so what does it mean? So if we try to import the CSS, okay, and then maybe also if you change the, let's say, start from the element, we say the H1, right? So H1 maybe is a red in color, and then if you give this class have another H1, let's say I just give you the quick example. Okay, if I have a H1, okay, so if I giving a style, so let's say if there's a H1, right? So H1 the okay, so the color. So if I just like saying the color is yellow, okay, okay. So if the next one level I'm using H1, and then I giving a maybe ID, okay, ID, and or another one I have a nested one will be H1, and then giving a class, okay, and for the inline, and then we have the called the H1, I giving a style, okay, so like this, okay, so I can change the color to yellow like this. Then if I giving the okay, maybe I showing this way, okay. The syntax right here is not exactly correct, just like showing how they actually it works. So if I have an inline, if they're all nested, okay, let's say like this, okay. If I have an inline style, so this one will be the highest, okay. So even though you apply the first one, let's say I have a yellow, blue, red, and then black like this, okay. So if the last one with a highest, so it show black in color, okay. So if I don't have the inline style, I have a class and ID together. Okay, so if I ID and class, so which one will show? And then if I ID, I'm showing is the red, and this one will be, let's say blue. Okay, so because ID has a higher, so then maybe it will show like blue in color. Okay, so here's the idea of it. And That's how we like actually apply it. Okay, for this one will be for the header. So if you remember the palms are right here, so it will be the ID. Okay, so color and then when we move on and we have the called the box model. So including the content, heading, border, and margin. Okay, so this one, if we look at it, let's say right here including, so for the this like for all the elements inside, so we do have it. Okay, so right here for padding, so if we change the padding right here, maybe let's say I change to 30. Okay, so when you see the highlight padding will be this part, and if I change to the border, okay, so if you look at the output, it looks pretty similar, but when you change a value, you see, okay, so here's the padding and border is the outermost line. So why not actually it's nothing. So you couldn't really, let me change it to 10. Okay. We're like for the, and then also we have the one is called the margin. So margin, we're giving the space. So when you put in the content, so you see the space right here, it will be highlighted margin, where we did the outermost, and then we have the border, and over here currently really nothing exists, so we cannot really show. So if it's the box, okay, or if a table, then you can set the like thickness. But for this one, we don't have it, so we cannot really set the border. And for the padding will be the space there in between. Okay, so right here, so you will see if you setting the let's say I give 10 for the padding, so you see the padding right here, right? And if I give it a margin 20, so these are two. So it's the outermost and then padding. Okay, so you see right here, and because for border, because we are not, it's not a table, then it's not a cell, so we don't have to change the border. So just like be careful of this like content. So this is how it looks like. So you can change it, and this is a sequence. Okay, so if you giving just like one value, so it will be applied for the for sign, so it will be like for sign. Okay, so if you giving like setting a border and then color and then margin, but of course like when you try to change it, then you can apply on different if you see right here. So but sometimes we can say the padding top, okay, bottom, or you can like change the sequence. Okay, so it just like it's a circle, so you can adjust it. So you can even, let's say I can have a bottom, let's say this one I can change to 20. Okay, so you see the margin padding left. Okay, so here you can really specific, and or you can just like put the padding. So let's say I change all these, remove all the paddings. Okay, and then I just add the padding and change the padding. Let's say I change to 10 pixel and 20 pixel and then 30 pixel. So you will see 10, 20, 30, and then the last one I didn't give it. So what's how it looks like. So 10, 20, and 30. Okay. But this one I already changed it, so I may like remove the left one. Okay, so it will be better. So here's the sequence. So you see, I will apply the so will be the top, right, bottom, and the last one will be the left. So it will be like this. So you can do it in this format. So either way is okay. And also we have the called the layout techniques. So layout including the flow. So you can use the flow for the layout fact box, and then we can give it a group. Okay. So actually for here I will recommend one thing is like sometimes we use the W3 school, and they will give you all the sample and then how can use it. So most of you, like if you have something concerned, you can see all these example, and then like top, right, bottom, left, and then here's the oldest sequence. So you can use like right here or just like one line. So it also give you the example, and we do have more. And if you're using it later, I mean using like Bootstrap or other maybe the semantic UI, all this, it will like telling you. Sometimes like you can see like the flows, okay, flows right here. So like left, right, none, or inheritance like this. So like maybe if you set my image like flow on the right, then it will be like this, like on the right, okay, or like flow and then left like this, okay. And because like there's like online, there are so many resources, and sometimes if you use the we call the framework, like let's say Bootstrap, okay, for your React, sometimes they will um depreciate some of the element, or they'll add some new features on it. So it's more important is like okay, have some basic understanding about all these words of CSS, and then you can just like in practice, like I would recommend I really like particularly learning all this. Okay, so how can we change the color, and then refer try to learn how to look at the document. Okay, then how can we use it? And for the next one, how can we like style the text? So for the text, we can even change the font family, size, weight. Okay, style. So when you change the font family, change the color, and then text element will be center. So you can do it in this way. Or if you want to work on the color, as what I like mentioned before, so you can use the name of the color hex. So you remember to use the prompt right here. Okay, or you can use the RGB. And if you're using the RGBA, then you can set also the transparency, something like that. Or of course, you can set the image background and then giving a URL. Okay, so even you can set the size, image, you can say it's a repeated. Okay, so all these like pretty lots of options. And also, if we have the table, then you can set the border and then set the shadow. So it's pretty good. Like if you just put the table like with the plain table, so it looks really maybe old-fashioned. Okay, it isn't fancy. So sometimes we always apply maybe setting the like blur radius. Okay, we can set it as a curve corner and then set some like shadow, change the color slightly gray, and then this one you define the RGBA 0, and then 0.5 slightly transparent. So all this is setting, and then this is setting the like border. Okay, what's the thickness of the will be like 2 pixel, is a solid or sometimes you can say it's the dot. Okay, and then double line, and then give it a color. So over here, and all here they are like able to set it. So if once you create the table, and then you can set in the like the table right here, like one solid, okay, or like the width right here, percentage, give you a percentage. Okay, and or sometimes if you some of them you do not want to add to tables, then you can don't want to have a border, then you can say none. Okay, so there's lots of options you can use. Okay, maybe the style right here, so you can refer to. Okay, padding divider, so bottom border right here, and then maybe whole overall tables. Okay, so maybe you will change the color. So when you like move on to change the color, and then strip. Okay, so you can change the strip. Okay, so for even number, what's the color? Okay, and table color. So there are so many options you can um refer to the W3 school. Okay, because like more important in the course, like we are not really go through like one element by element with the details, but more important is like learning how to read the document and find what you want. Okay, and all the element they are possible. Sometimes you can change the size. Okay, change the color. Okay, and just like be careful is that okay, if you want to change it, so are you using the ID? Are you using a class? Okay, so for the most of the time for ID, it would be like for specific one element. Okay, then we use the ID. Okay, so one tag with one ID, but for the class will be applied for so many, so you can reuse. So for the ID, maybe this one have a specific ID would be let's say um one. Okay, so we really using the ID have two. Like if I have two header, if I want to give another ID, so it would be like ID2 like this. Okay, so it would be access to specific one element. But if for class, then I can maybe have something like I said paragraph P or like div. So it can apply. So I can have another class like this. Okay, so class, and then I can use called the A1. Okay, so and then maybe I call the names called A1, then I can reuse it. So here's the differences. Okay. And also we can set some like responsive design. If you know that we can detect the media, and based on the width, then we can change the color or like let them to collab, or all these like it's possible. We can using the media queries, so apply based on the device size. So you know sometimes we detect is the computer, it's a laptop, and or sometimes that maybe use the tablet. Okay, screen slightly smaller, or is that on your phone. So based on this, we can detect the media, then we can say much more responsive. Okay, and there's more like CSS framework, and we can introduce. It can be really fast development, more responsive, and then you can directly use them. So if you want to work on the project, then you're recommended to use them. So I'm not saying, oh, you are not allowed. So you can refer to the W3 school, or you can check the bootstrap. Okay, so you can go to the example, the sometimes the documents, and then you can look at them. Okay, if sometimes I want to change the, let's say I have a layout, I want to work on the image. Okay, so if I want to create this image, then after you install it, you can use it the image, and then you can like put it like this, or you can set the size like thumbnail. Okay, so once you put a cast thumbnail, so they can, so you are totally fine to use all this. Like maybe it's not a maybe for the beginner, sometimes it's like this good like learn from the really basic structure, but for nowadays, like for development, and you have to learn. So I would really recommend they start to use it. And one thing is that if you want to modify, okay, if you let's say if you create an image but you don't like the color, then you need to know how can you change it. Maybe you can create your own cascade sheet, or you can do the inline, okay, style to modify. So it would be a better idea. So I prefer you doing it this way. Okay, and try to search like Bootstrap is one of the popular like semantic or others right here. So you feel free to use anything you like. Okay, so if you feel like you like their icons, you like their style design, so it's like this. And the kind of like next one we will talk about the preprocessor. So it's kind of the two like size or like less. So this one will be passing the called variables, nesting or mixing or the functions. So if I have a called a primary color right here blue, okay, so I can pass it as a parameter. Okay, the advantage is say when we design, okay, so if I you see like sometimes if we set the theme, okay, so maybe we need to switch, and once I change the variables right here, then I can change all others. Okay, so I don't have to like go into the style sheet. Okay, style sheet right here. Let's say I have a really long one that I don't want to like if I have color. So if they are all same color, I don't want to change it. Like go by one and change it, but I can just like change the variable, and then it will automatically change out there. Okay, so because we can assign it as a variable like this, and kind of like wrap up. So just like always use the command line and consistent naming. Okay, and try to minify your CSS and some like shorthand properties, and try to like consider contract like when you really design, because for design as well as because for this course like actually for the web programming and like our interface like API server actually really complex like so everything just like just treat it as more like introduction, like we try to cover each part a little bit and as a beginning, so you can pick up. But if you want to more advanced, then you may need to study a little bit more by yourself. Okay. And right here, just remember we have some like common CSS property. Just remind you, like sometimes we call the display was the overflow position, flow, clean, and then z index like this. So z index like would be the overlay. Okay, so if you want to see like sometimes like if I want to put this like on top of it, like which one is like on top, one's in bottom, in the middle, then it will control it by it. And then the next one maybe the position if you want to set it. So we have a relative position or like absolute position. We can say like which like based on the pixel or left or right. Okay, all this. Okay, and we did have more. So instead of like um we cannot like actually if you look at the W school like actually we have a lot like if we want to went through all this content maybe at least we have to spend several weeks like to talk about one by one, but just like try to look at something you may be going to be useful and try to search it. Okay, looking for something may help you. So and just looking for something may be helpful. So we can do it like the index right here. So you can see right here all the layout. So like if -1, so will be always the highest. Um, um, it will be the lowest one, and then if once the number like goes bigger, so it will like overlap on other elements. So if you know it's always the let's say the background is always the on the bottom, okay, then you can put it as a negative number. And for other maybe other element you may be on top of it but you have no idea, not so sure, then you can set it like later, maybe yeah, you say control like using number 10, 12, 30 like this, like control it. Okay, so right here you can see the z index right here, like start with the smallest one number and then 3 going up. And let's say if we going up put the just the normal blocks right here, 1, right, and gray box, and then there's a green box. Okay, so if I bring the green box right here to let's say bigger. Okay, let's say so you see it comes out top. So once the number goes bigger, so it will on top. So here will be this part of our CSS. And when we move on to more like slightly more advanced, then we have more. And for the advanced one, we need to think about the like how about the layout, design, responsiveness, and some animation. Okay, and how can we enhance the user experience and accessibilities, and based on like even for the models browser support, like how about Chrome, Edge, or Safari. Okay, or like there's some new browser. Okay, so we need to think about and testing. And maybe for the grid layout, this is called the two-dimension layout system. Okay, and we have some properties, including we have color template columns, rows, and area. And if we think about the like 3-column layers, so we'll be like header and then content. Okay, so and then we have the footer. Okay, so if we look at the any website, let's say we go to Wireless website. So if you look at it, then you will see maybe right here. So where's the content, what's the footer? Okay, header, footer. So if we try to inspect, so you can see, okay, footer is right here. And then maybe we have the main is the if we scroll up right here, okay, main, and maybe we don't have it's an overlap, so this is definitely like header. You see the header. So but everywhere you can get some example and then look at the design. So just like always I refer to all these example. Okay, and you can like display it like you set the container. So sometimes we like if you remember dog, you can say it's the using class and then container, and it says the display is a group, and then where's the columns, okay, and then row auto, okay, and they have a different unit. Like let's say UMFR, so you can test it. There are different sizes. Sometimes if you want to make more standardize. Let's say I like to use the pixel, okay, pixel, or like sometimes I use the percentage, you can percentage. So all this, and I try to attach the code so you can try to apply them and observe it, okay, how they looks like. And also you can set it like using the what's the area, okay, header, sidebar, content, okay, footer, like this. So you can try to like change all this by yourself and when you work on it. And we have the color flex box, so it will be the one-dimension layout system. So we have the justify content, align the items, so we can use it. And compare with it, Flexbox may be pretty popular using it instead of the grid. Okay, so it's a simple layout, So when they just like item need to align in one dimension, maybe just like this. Okay, so one of example is the navbar. So if need to have a navigation menu, so you can make it as a horizontal or straight. Okay, and then you can give some like space in between them and then make your menu like align to center, background, color, okay, and then give them some padding. So if you look at right here, maybe they don't have the menu, but we have the footer. So right here, look at navigation like menu. So this is a footer menu right here too. So you can like say it as a horizontal like this. And then we can move on some example more like never item. So all the items are like colors. Okay, so you can like write color, decoration, no, and margin. Okay, so if you remember top right, bottom left. Okay, so maybe you set the margin. Okay, like this. And then of course, like for the responsive design technique, if you remember in the previous slide we talked about media. So media query, so we try to detect the device characteristics. So basically we can obtain this like based on the browser or like when they open, we are able to know, okay, so what's the height, what's the width, okay, what's orientation, okay. So you can base the return of it. So you can try to design the better fit style. If it's like mobile, if you want to like design for like it's a mobile first or like desktop first approach, okay, so we can use a switch it. So nowadays, because you know lots of users they use cell phone, okay, a mobile phone to open the browser, then you need to consider not only a desktop view but also a mobile view. And you see most of the desktop view, they will just like make it as a one column content, okay. So there's need to design. So let's say if we can include it right here. So you will see if I change the device, if you can browse and let's say I'm using the iPhone 40 Pro, so you see it's like straight rewrite. So here you can see if I switch to iPad, let's say iPad Pro, okay, so it becomes like slightly two columns, okay, two columns. And if I just go back to maybe responsive, then you can like drag it like this. So you see the width when it become three columns, and then when you're expanding long more like width, if you are, let's say you have a curved monitor, okay, so then it will still look like this way, okay. So I recommend, so it's really helpful using inspect and then look at the element and test it. So it's a good tool, okay, for you to work with the CSS, okay. And remember, sometimes I like to use the incognito mode, privacy mode, because you know sometimes we have cache, okay, you know cache. If you but why not if you're using VS, sometimes because they have a one of the firmware will helping you to refresh the content, clean the cache. But sometimes but for a long time, right, when I really start to learn, because when you have a cache, even you try to change the maybe the CSS or some elements, okay, but when you try to refresh it, doesn't maybe it doesn't update. The reason because it's still safe in the cache. So that's why I will recommend like sometimes for testing, inspect and then open the incognito mode, and that will better every time fetch the new content. So let's go back right here. and more like query, so you can design, so you can use the media and then check the max width. Okay, so if you're width, then maybe you can change the body font size. So by default, you can see right here, body. If maybe this is a desktop view, then you can give a bigger font size 16. But if you know maybe like the width is 600 pixel, maybe it's for cell phone, then you can make the font size smaller, like smaller. Okay. And one more, if you remember the variable, where you remember this one store the value, so we can reuse them. So we can indicate, like let's say from the wood and then main color padding. So okay, right here. And when you pass it, so we get var and then getting the main color. Okay, var or like padding. So you can pass it. So you can here's the syntax to define and then use the variable in this way. So you can use this style. So it's more like advanced way. And once you see here's the class, right? So we have the class box, okay, and tell you like this. Then you can maybe try to like change the background color. Okay, so pass the parameter. So you may try. So you can see. And also we have some more, we talk about the animation and transit. Okay, so for animation and transit, so including, so transit will only like occur on like some like property change. For animation, they maybe require will be a keyframe base. So we have two things, one is transition and the one is like keyframe. For more details, of course, like we will love to like refer to the CSS, and we will talk about like just show you right here we have the variables. Okay, so passing the variables, if we using a var right here, okay, give a name and value. Okay, and of course we may be changing if you see the like text box and then the green right here responsive. So I will just show you the grid right here and also the text box. Okay, so will be like one direction. Okay, and when we also talk about the text right here, so we'll also another one. But just like quickly went through an introduction. Okay, or like animable right here. So if for the keyframe move, so you can see, and let's say like if changing the keyframe, it will change the colors right here. So you will see the using color form to change the red to blue. So it will transit like this way. Okay, so and this like two property you can use. So if you have the buttons, so when you move on top of it, so if you are the transit, so the backgrounds, the color with like 0.3 seconds. Okay, you can do it in this way, or like you move the button on top of it. Okay, your cursor on top of it, so the color change. So right here, so you can compare two differences right here. So it will be like getting more slightly smooth to change the color. Okay, so quickly summarize. So for here, so always use some like methodology. You can use like the beam or SMA CSS right here and try to minimize the reflow or repaint it. Again, so try to be also try to avoid we call the specificity rule, because I maybe use the class selector so wisely. So try to prevent those like conflicts, right? Just be careful. And sometimes, especially for debugging, if you see I already try to change this color, why it doesn't change? That means that maybe you have some inline. If you remember, we have the different specificity. So like maybe the which one inline ID class, right? So you need to do some debugging. So inspect using the column inspect, so will help you. Okay, so you see which one will be on top of another. Okay, and then you can use say some the CSS link to check the style guide, and also you can check lots of say tweaks or like WP school. There are a lot. Okay, and always try to inspect the element, test it in real time. So once you really modify, let's say I change the CSS and then try to see okay what happened. Sometimes before I change it, also maybe I have a habit. Okay, if I want to change the color, and then I will just change it right here on top, so I can edit. Okay, so after we modify the color, I said the width right here is maybe for the border, I change the color to maybe I try to red. So then you see red. Okay, I see. Okay, I like this one. Then maybe I change the pixel to 3. Okay, I think okay, it looks pretty good. Then I can go back to the files and switch it. Okay, and modify. So here it will be kind of like advantage too. Okay, you can do it in this way. And quickly, just like pretty quick to summarize the what we doing for the advanced. So we talk about the grid, okay, the flex box, and then the design responsive design, and then how to add using the variables and animation. Okay, just like remember this. Therefore, quickly introduce. You may not using all this, but at least like in your memory you remember we have something. Okay, at least we have something like, okay, if I want to add some animation, okay, I want to transit like better, okay, and add some transition, okay, and then you can just like go back to, let's say, W3 school, and or you can refer to any like bootstrap or anywhere, okay, then you can modify, okay, or like if you want to change all these like media query, so you know, okay, where can you go to search for that. If you remember, we have the max width, okay, and a minimum width. For this, like pretty straightforward. They are not complicated, but I will recommend like in practical, like you try to use them and see, okay, what's the difference? Okay, so if I use the minimum width, so I try to check the minimum, then I'll do something, or like it's the maximum width. If you remember, okay, so if I know um from the example I gave you to detect like the flex the box size right here say I say if the maximum width right here, so if it's less than 600, then I will just change it to the smaller fonts. Okay, but if you change the minimum, then it's the other direction. Okay, so that's like what you need to pay attention and try and test. Okay, and actually, because for CSS is the pretty big topic too, but for the schedule syllabus, I cannot cover everything, just like limited time. So just give you a rough idea, and just like for apply and use it, and just like try. Okay, and that's it. Thank you so much. And for the group project, just reminding you I'm not assigning you to a group, okay? Feel free to ask other students if you're thinking this the project, or if you have no idea, or you're thinking it's too much for you to do that. You can form a group to work together. Okay, so it's not compulsory, and I'm not assigning you into a group. Okay, so that's why applying, so we can do it by yourself, or like you can maybe like 3 or 4 students like work together. Okay, to create a project. But if you have a big group, then I will slightly have a bigger have a slightly higher expectation. Okay, because you have somebody maybe take care on the front end, building the React. Okay, front end, or somebody help you to handle the API server. Some people work on the database. Okay, MongoDB. Okay, and doing the connection testing. So I'm expecting you will doing slightly better than the individual student. Okay. And hopefully, like based on all these like previous assignment, you should have a backbone of it, but you just need to change your title, and then we use most of source code and change the design, try to make it more like fancy using the bootstrap, CSS, change it. Okay. And I'm not forced you to say, okay, you must use which one, but pick the one you like. Okay. And thank you so much.